We're on?
We're on.
What's up, guys? When I say guys, I mean Chin, A, everyone out there listening. I'm still dealing with this little bit of red eye, but
Pink eye.
it went from pink to red. It's more of like almost like a Satan red now.
Oh, man.
I look like a straight demon walking around Los Angeles these days. Should be gone, though. I had a doc come to the crib last night. He said if I just keep putting in the drops, should be gone about a day or so. Not much you can do. I just walk around with hand sanitizer, some eye drops. I had some IV bags last night. I'm like Wolverine, though. I'll bounce back. Hopefully. I keep telling myself that. Wolverine, like the young one, not like this new bullshit movie Logan. Have you seen that?
I thought it was great.
People love it. It's so depressing to me.
Yeah, but I thought that's what I liked about it. It was like real.
It was dark.
It was like a real movie, not like a superhero-ish.
Ooh, good spin on things, Chin. I agree. It's they're doing a new Joker, and I can't give too much detail on it, but what I do know is they're doing a Joker, and they're going from how he got started as the Joker.
Like when he was growing up.
Dark story. Yeah, it's a dark story on how his mom was basically like this prostitute, and it's in old school, like I think the 60s or 70s in Brooklyn. It's in New York.
That sounds
And the
good.
mom was like this kind of prostitute. The dad left, and so he grew up around that.
Mm-hmm.
And the story's super dark.
Dope.
But they're going to start doing that, like more stories like that.
Yeah, that'd
Which would be
sick.
dope. I know, I love that stuff. Other than that, man, a little comic talk for you guys. I leave town Thursday. I am in Phoenix. You'll be there, Chin.
Yeah.
Jay Schaub will be there. Phoenix, we're at Stand Up Live. There are less than 30 tickets left. And then Friday, I mosey on over to Salt Lake City, Utah, which I've never been to for comedy or anything. Little fact, played for the Utah Blaze, which was the Arena League football team there.
Really?
Went to camp with them. That was my last time ever put on a pair of football pads.
Wow.
Anyways, Utah, right next door, the neighbor to Colorado. So that should be fun. And again, I think that one's sold out. Both around less than 30 tickets last time I checked, which was last week. So check right now if you're listening to this, tfatk.com. But Thursday, Friday kicks off the worldwide tour. And then from there, so it goes Phoenix, Salt Lake, and then we go to Chicago, Toronto, which is sold out. Detroit is on a Sunday. Then I fly back to LA for the day. And then that night, I take a red eye out to London. And we have, I think, 2 or 3 shows in London, 1 show in Manchester, 6 shows in Dublin. Hashtag
Boy.
don't die. Hashtag don't die. Hashtag pink eye, please leave ASAP. No, it'll be done. They promised me it'll be done. I'm on some crazy antibiotics. These crazy eye drops where when I drop them in, I can literally feel my eyeballs burning.
That means it's working.
Maybe. Other than that, today we got on Paulie Malignaggi, my boy, Malignaggi, my boy from Showtime Boxing. Man, me and this guy just hit it off. It's weird. It's I thought we were gonna kind of butt heads because I'm super opinionated, he's super opinionated. I watch him on all the Showtime stuff. I've always been a fan. I think he's one of the best in the game. So I was a little worried, but right away, no egos. He's open-minded. He is going to Conor McGregor's camp. I'm sure we'll get into all that. It's official. He's joining Conor McGregor's camp to help out there in Vegas. It was interesting because Paulie's not like in, he's fighting. He's at 147 pounds. He also retired a while ago, 5-6 years ago? But he doesn't look like he's in phenomenal shape, like fight shape. But he said once he started to get wind that Conor wanted to bring him in, started working out, getting a sweat on. So it'd be interesting to talk to him about where exactly he's at. There's no way he can go 12 rounds right now. I don't assume, nor do I think Conor's bringing him in for that. I think Conor needs to bring a guy like Paulie in just for his mind, because for his experience, I said this on the broadcast, obviously Paulie's going to have some information, some experience that you can't bring in from Conor's coaches right now. So you bring Paulie in just for that, for, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, but there's a lot of things, kind of, I don't want to say dirty boxing, but there are some dirty things that happen in boxing that you're not going to get from just a spectator's eye or coach's eye. Paulie's going to be able to help him with deal with those things, not get flustered when they happen, how to execute those things, and get away with it. Because with Conor, his deal is, especially going this fight, everyone in that arena doesn't want Conor to win, except for the fans. The fans who obviously, and Floyd kept saying this, can't fight for you. But so the ref, the judges, and everyone else associated with the boxing world doesn't want Conor to win. So Conor does anything that's even remotely somewhat illegal, he's getting flagged.
Yeah.
He's getting warned, and they're taking a point. So I think for him, bringing a guy like Paulie to kind of go, man, you can do this on the inside where they can't really see it. If he does this, you can react this way, because if Conor does anything out of line, you're kind of screwed. But, I'm excited to have Paulie on. And people forget, Paulie's fought everyone, man. Everyone. Zab Judah, Cotto, Ricky Hatton, Amir Khan, everyone.
Jeez.
2-time world champ, let's see. He was a champion, 147 pounds, multiple belt world champion. Just a little beast, man. And a smart dude. I was asking him if he's, and I'm sure we'll get into it when he comes on the show, but I was asking him if he's worried about brain trauma at all. And I almost hate asking people. Mm-hmm. And I said, because if you watch other broadcasts, I'm going to call the guys out, I go, former fighters, you can tell who have, brain trauma. He goes, oh, yeah, it's bad, man. I really don't see it with Paulie.
Yeah. I mean, he seems really lucid, very quick.
Yeah, when Conor said, I think he said in 2003 or 2008, you were fighting Oscar De La Hoya's undercard. Mm-hmm. He was like, what? And he literally went through fight by fight what happened. So it's not really a sign of brain trauma.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It sneaks up sometimes, but I don't know. Right now, he seems perfectly fine, and if he seems good, I love seeing him on the broadcast. And I told you, he's just so freaking likable. I don't know what it is about him, but when you watch him and the way he talks to other people, he just seems super likable.
In person, it's even more so, because I didn't find him that kind of warm when I would watch the broadcast on Showtime. I thought he was great, but I felt like he'd be a little prickly, I don't know. Some fighters, especially at his level, are a little prickly. Meaning, like, they're a little like, what do you want? When you mean, like, what do you want from me? He wasn't that way at all.
Yeah.
At all, man.
And you're coming in from a different sport, too, so you probably expected even more prickliness.
Yeah, or at least, especially when you talk to other boxers or analysts who are in boxing, they're way more closed-minded. Yeah. Like, won't even entertain the idea. Where Paulie, if I go, what if Conor were to win? And he goes, it could happen.
Yeah.
Where other guys are like, nah, get the hell, I won't even entertain that. Not going to happen. It's very interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the best analysts in the game, my brother from another mother, and I didn't even know it until we met here in Los Angeles for the May Mac Tour. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. I can't even hear it if you put your hands together. It's Paulie Malignaggi up in the house.
Malignaggi, Brendan.
Malignaggi. I always mess your last name up, man. I know. Yeah. I have the same issues.
It's all right. It's forgivable, man. It's a lot of people don't get the last name. It's forgivable.
Thanks, man. I suck at last names. I apologize. What's going on, brother? You seem to be more busy now that all this Conor and Floyd stuff is going on, man.
Yeah. I tell you, man, we've gotten pretty busy since the press tour took off, and that thing really did take off, as we saw. Personalities each and every single day of that press tour. I mean, we got some good airtime, and a lot of fans have been discussing the matchup, and obviously including me and you overall on social media. It's been the talk of the summer so far, I believe.
Did you expect any of this? Like, obviously, you've worked some big fights before, man. And, I think everyone knew the magnitude of this fight was going to be big. But, I said on my show last Friday when I came back, I thought I couldn't even picture it being this big. It was unbelievable, man.
I mean, I'll tell you what, Brendan. I expect it to be big, but you don't really know the magnitude. You don't really understand the magnitude until it happens. You know, to me, so far, this has been bigger than Mayweather-Pacquiao, and Mayweather-Pacquiao was the biggest I ever worked. You know, so and for me, this has been bigger than that thus far. I also worked a very big fight over in the UK earlier this year of Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko, but because I was on this side of the pond, I didn't get the full build-up anticipation like I may have if I was over in the UK. You know what I mean? That was also a major fight. I filled out a stadium, and it was it turned out to be an intense fight. This one, because it's happening on this side of the pond, I'm getting all the build-up, and I'm getting all the anticipation from it. You know what I'm saying? And I can compare it to Mayweather-Pacquiao, but so far this has been a bigger deal than Mayweather-Pacquiao for me. And I think the sole merit of that goes to Conor McGregor, because he's been this polarizing figure that can match up to Floyd Mayweather in every single press conference, match him for every single quote, even surpass him at times. He's very witty, he's very astute, and it's made for some really rollicking exchanges and volleys back and forth.
Are you getting any kind of backlash from the boxing community? Because you're kind of one of those guys who, you know, you don't say Floyd's just going to go in there and outclass him. You're actually one of the guys say, you know, anything could happen, and if you were gonna win, this is how. You're at least open-minded enough to give Conor more than a puncher's chance from all the breakdowns I've heard from you and also working with you. Are you getting any backlash from the boxing community? Because let's be honest, you know, you were on Ariel Helwani's show, you're on my show, I see you on these other MMA outlets, UFC interviewed you, so you're kind of this, I would say you're kind of the link, but behind the boxing community and between MMA right now. So are you getting any kind of negative feedback from the old boxing heads, I should say?
You know, it's been very little. There has been a little, but it's been very little. And here's the reason I think it's only been very little, because every time I break down anything, be it in boxing or be it this match, which is an MMA fighter versus a boxing fighter in boxing nonetheless, I never try to give an opinion without a tactical breakdown behind it to back my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm going to give you the reasons you should look for Conor to have an opportunity to win this fight, I'm going to give you reason A, B, and C, and I'm going to tactically break down reason A, B, and C. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I'm just playing the analyst role, and I'm saying Mayweather to be successful is going to do A, B, and C. Look for Mayweather to do A, B, and C. If Conor is to be successful, look for Conor to be doing A, B, and C. And maybe there's D, E, F, G, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? For both guys. But what I'm saying is, I try to call it down the middle, and I try to break things down from a tactical standpoint. No matter what I'm giving you an example of, I try to give myself the tactical, analytical backup of it, so that you can say, okay, if this is going to happen, I guess this is the way it's got to happen. Mm-hmm. If this other situation is going to happen, I guess this is the way it's got to happen. Now you can follow along. Now when the fight starts, you can follow along and start to see how the patterns are breaking down, and possibly some of the patterns that may have broken down to you may be starting to happen. And you start to say, okay, this is what Paulie said would make Conor successful. Or this is what Paulie said would make Floyd successful. I guess he's being successful, or he's being successful right now because this is the things we talked about earlier. You know, so because I always try to give myself an analytical foundation behind what I'm saying, I feel like I give critics less of an opportunity to give me the backlash. Sure, there's been a little backlash, but certainly it's been very little. It's been a lot of love. It's been a lot of love for both the boxing community and the MMA community. And I think you can't go wrong when you give yourself a tactical breakdown of every reason you give for all the possibilities happening.
Smart move, my man. Smart move. Sometimes I'll just make some predictions, give you no data or anything like that.
Yeah, that's called shooting from the cuff, shooting from the hip.
That's how I like to do it. Sometimes I like to mix it up. They call me the curveball, Paulie. Because you've broken down so many major fights, like you said, Joshua Klitschko, which to me is the fight of the year. Whether you're an MMA fan or a boxing fan, it's by far fight of the year and the heavyweight title there. Do you find you're having a tougher time kind of breaking down this fight or looking into this fight just because there's that X factor with Conor McGregor where you've never seen him box before? Like, we've seen some of the sparring footage and his workout videos, but none of that counts. You know how that is. That's not real. So are you finding there's kind of a tougher time breaking this fight down more so than you've had before?
I wouldn't call it a tougher time, but I think it's a different twist. And and I'll say it this way, because you're breaking down things a little bit differently, and you're also breaking down not just a tactical advantage point, but you're breaking down other things that people don't keep into consideration. You know what I'm saying? You're breaking down things that, you know, MMA fans are not used to some of the tactical breakdowns in boxing. Boxing fans are not used to some of the tactical breakdowns in MMA. Like there's a myth among boxing purists and boxing fans that mixed martial artists don't know how to throw a proper punch. And my feeling is that it's not that they don't know how to throw a proper punch. It's because you can't plant on your shots the same way in mixed martial arts as you can in boxing, because you will get kicked in your leg. You know, so you can't have that, I'm going to dig down and I'm going to dig this guy to the body right now, and then I'm going to come up with a left hook to the head after it and come up with a right uppercut and a left hook again. You can't really sit there digging all those shots, because you're going to catch a knee to your gut, you're going to catch an inside leg kick or something, you know. So the planting of your legs has to change automatically. It has to change, because you're going to get something's going to happen that's going to throw you off. You can't plant like a boxer. So yes, boxers may deliver quote unquote better punches, but it's not. I don't think it's because mixed martial artists can't punch like that. It's because they aren't allowed to punch like that, because it's a risk for them to do that. So in a boxing match, now does Conor have to relearn the tactical way he's been throwing punches? Is that complicated? Is it not complicated? Hey man, that's part of the things that we have to discuss and give opinions on, you know, because some of those things change. But it's not because I don't think Conor doesn't know how to do it, or a mixed martial artist doesn't know how to do it. It's because in a mixed martial arts fight, you're looking for different things.
Does it bother you, Paulie, when other mixed martial artists, or even before Conor, you know, he said some stuff about boxers? Does it bother you when other, you know, when these UFC guys or even Bellator guys want to come over to the boxing world? Is there anything inside you that goes, come on, man, are you kidding me? You think you can just go from there to there? You think it's that easy?
Well, you know, listen, I don't think anybody expects it to be easy, but sometimes guys are just trying to make money. You know, I really don't think it's anybody. I think only a fool would try to change sports and not and expect it to come easy. I think everybody knows and understands it's a different challenge. You know, but of course, I don't knock anybody's chances of making money. I don't knock anybody's, you know, hustle, so to speak. You know, sometimes I do see the thing where it's a real fight. In a real fight, you know, Mayweather would have no chance, or a boxer would have no chance. Dude, nothing. If we're gonna call a real fight, then there's no rules in a real fight. You know what I mean? So even in a cage, there's no rules. Like if we're gonna talk like street fights, I can pick up a bottle, I can pick up a garbage can, I can pick up a shovel. So either way, you're fighting within an amount of rules. You are fighting, whether you're fighting in a cage or you're fighting in a boxing ring. It's just which rules are you fighting under. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the advantage in a boxing ring goes to a boxer. The advantage in a cage goes to the cage fighter. And the allure of the fight is, can the guy who's at a disadvantage make up that ground? Can he do what is so difficult to do?
Mm-hmm. I mean, a few MMA guys came after you. I think Cub Swanson did. You and Conor McGregor had some words before this fight even came to fruition. Like, some guys were coming after you, Paulie.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think... you know, I got to say, if the opportunity would have presented itself the right way, I wouldn't have minded being on this card. You know, people started discussing me as well. And, Club came and started talking about me. And at first I was just like, whatever, you know, because I was just retired, and I was like, whatever. And then I started realizing he was getting a lot of retweets, you know, and he was getting a lot of attention for the call. So I was like, whoa. I was like, you know, this is actually getting more attention than I anticipated it would, you know. So, you know, we kind of volleyed back and forth a little bit over social media. But, you know, in the end, the deal that was struck by Dana White and Mayweather gave the UFC no pull as far as the undercard is concerned. It's just a pure deal struck for Conor McGregor, which means if you have no pull for the undercard, I am not a Floyd Mayweather fighter. I'm an Al Haymon fighter who also has Floyd Mayweather, but I don't belong to Floyd Mayweather. So Floyd would have absolutely no inclination of putting me on the undercard. He had nothing going for him to put me on the undercard. So if the UFC had to be the ones to negotiate a part of the undercard belonging to them. Instead, Dana and the UFC negotiated just the Conor McGregor side, just the Conor McGregor fight, and the undercard is controlled by Mayweather Promotions. The undercard is controlled by the other side, which means when that happened, I realized me and Cub Swanson could not happen because Mayweather is not going to care about putting Paulie Malignaggi on his undercard. He'd rather put fighters signed to Mayweather Promotions and give them the exposure, rightfully so.
That makes sense. I didn't even think about that. I just figured it's more of a matter of you not wanting to do it. Maybe just you retired, you're doing well.
I was open to it only because an opportunity like this is like it's once in a lifetime. A card like this is literally once in a lifetime. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a card like this for a very, very, very long time. I mean, we had Mayweather Pacquiao a couple of years ago, and just 2 years later we have this. So, but I think people are, and obviously the fight didn't pan out, but you had all the buys, you had all the hype and whatnot. Mayweather Pacquiao. Now you have Mayweather McGregor. You have all the hype, you have all the buys. Hopefully the fight lives up to it. But either way, to have a fight hype to this magnitude, I think people are going to get spoiled where it just happened 2 times in the past couple of years. This is not going to happen again for a long time. This is a rare occasion.
Yeah, and one of the only reasons, there's a common denominator here, and it's Floyd Mayweather. Once he's gone, that ship has sailed. I don't see anyone in the boxing world, transcending like a Floyd Mayweather for a long time. We'll see, but I don't see anything in the near future.
Yeah, I agree too. And it's not because there's no talent out there. There's a lot of talent in boxing, but so many moving pieces have to come together to create this iconic level of a star. And it's not that easy, and it's actually very hard to explain in a short conversation. But it's not very easy, and it's going to take a long time.
Now is it true? I see reports saying that it's official. You're joining Conor McGregor in his Las Vegas camp.
Yeah. We had gone back and forth, and we had discussed it. And I remember me and you were talking about it on the press tour that it might happen, it might not happen. I was in the middle of back and forth talks. But they reached out to me. They reached out to me earlier this week, and they said they want me this week. And I told them, I said, at this point, I have to be back in New York to work Broner Garcia next week. So is it even worth it for you to bring me out this week, only for me to have to go back to New York next week and then come back to Vegas again? That's a lot of going back and forth and flying. Would you rather just wait for me to work the Broner Garcia fight and come out to you in Las Vegas first week in August? So they, Jerry Burns is the guy I've been dealing with. He's my friend Dean Burns' brother. And Jerry told me, okay, listen, Paul, let me call you back and let me see what everybody wants to do. And then he called me back and he said, no, we're going to bring you in this week and then you can leave and then come back again. So I was like, all right, if that's what you guys want to do, we'll get it done. So they've booked me. I'm actually flying out to Las Vegas tomorrow. Oh,
good for you, man. And do you have any idea what exactly you're going to be doing? Do they say they want you for rounds right away? Do they want you for your knowledge?
Yeah. I mean, they want me to fly in tomorrow and start sparring Thursday. So I anticipate, because in my training camps we used to spar every 2 days. So I anticipate if that's the case in Conor's training camp, I anticipate I spar Thursday and Saturday, and then Monday I have to fly out back to New York to work the Broner Garcia fight week, and then I'll fly back to Vegas the following Monday again. So I anticipate 2 days of sparring this week if it's a schedule like I'm used to. But for sure I've been told Thursday we're sparring.
And what do you think you kind of bring to the table as far as helping Conor out? Because obviously you're sparring and you're a phenomenal boxer, multi-time world champion, so the skills are there. But how do you see you helping Conor in all this? Because it's not like he's a pure boxer where you can show him certain stuff, which a boxer who has a huge, extensive boxing background, has been doing all his life, can pick up and use in the fight. For Conor, this is kind of new territory for both you guys.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And then for starters, I what I'm bringing to the table is just me boxing him. It'll let him know where he's at, where he stands. Just how he does with me. It'll let him know where his boxing, how far it's come along, and where he stands. Number one, because I'm sure he's going to be looking to go at it, and I'll be looking to go at it. So once we get that first 1 or 2 sparrings out of the way, I think we can talk a little bit of tactics. We'll see what's working. We'll see what's not working. And, we'll see. He's got a great training team around him. So, I don't want to step on anybody's toes and whatnot. But if they want to veer off to deflect some stuff off to me and ask me or whatnot, or ask my opinion on some of the work, I'm happy to help. Once I'm in camp, I'm a team player. So, I hope to help the team out as well as best I can with the work I give.
Yeah, I think, and I said this on the broadcast, and before he came on, I mentioned this, was obviously your boxing and the sparring is going to help Conor, and he's in there with a world-class boxer and a former world champion, so he's going to get his work there. But what is so big for them is to have a brain like yours that has that extensive background in boxing, just to show them kind of the ins and outs of what can happen in the ring. So it's not something new when Conor sees it, because Floyd's going to do things, certain movements, like we talked about, on Showtime. Not that it's dirty, but Floyd's going to do things where he knows he can get away with it. And I think you being there helps them so much more, at least making him aware of things Floyd can do.
Yeah, I absolutely. Nobody fights 100% clean inside a ring. I'm sure inside an octagon as well, but boxers are more familiar with how to get away with dirty tricks in the ring than is, say, a guy who hasn't boxed before, where maybe you want to be dirty, but, you don't know how to do it in a sneaky way where the ref won't understand it, won't see it, or won't notice it, Trust me, referees don't want to be involved. Referees don't want to even referee the fight half the time. They just want to hang out and watch the fight. So as long as it's not totally blatant, guys will get away with dirty stuff. So it's just a matter of what McGregor has to be careful to look out for, because everybody has their little inside tricks that Mayweather does as well. And, of course, what you can get away with as well, without, of course, getting yourself DQ'd, without making it obvious, because you're also trying to win the fight within the rules that you have set for yourself.
And you don't have to get into pure details here, Paulie, but I'm interested in this. Obviously, them bringing you in is a huge asset for Conor McGregor. And you're a busy man. I mean, you got Showtime, you got all your other stuff happening in New York. Obviously, you're a busy guy. Financially, does it make sense for you to help Conor, or is this more of an opportunity to get in there and see what Conor's about? Or is it more of a financial thing? Like I'm sure you've helped guys before, but are they taking care of you, Paulie? Do you need me to make some calls? Do I need to fly down and slap some faces?
Listen, I'm not trying to get rich off the sparring. They're giving me a little something, but it wasn't so much about the money. And I told them, I said, I even told them, I said, I'm not a high maintenance guy. I'm more so doing this more for my networking opportunities, just to also be on the inside of this major event, major promotion, and just, maybe I'll have some memories for me to take with me for my life. Something about my career is I've had memories to take with me for the rest of my life, and I have no problem sharing those when they passed along and through the years. I like to look back and talk about certain things. I look at this more like a networking opportunity, getting to know some of the guys on the other side, how the other side works, the mixed martial arts world works, as opposed to the boxing world, and networking with them, obviously. But also, this is something that's going to be sort of a memory for me. Years from now, I'll look back at this and say, man, I was involved a little bit in the biggest event in boxing history. And for me, that's something cool, I think, and I'll be able to talk about that, and I'll be able to share stories for years to come.
Yeah, that's priceless. I think you're going to have an insider's, perspective that no one else is going to have. And you working, Showtime, especially the night of the fight, you're going to be able to give an analysis, a perspective that no one else in the world is going to have, because you've been in there with the guy. Like right now, I've seen Conor. He comes to my gym here in Santa Monica. I see him move around. I've seen him spar, but I've never been in there with him. I've never gotten hit by Conor. You're going to have a perspective that no one else in the world has, especially when it comes to boxing. So I think literally for Showtime, for you, I think it's priceless, man. I think it's such a smart move, Paulie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, not just feeling the kind of power he has, but also his ability to use his boxing as a decoy to land punches, because now in mixed martial arts, you have a lot of things you can use as decoys, because you have your legs, you have your hands, you have your grappling ability or whatnot. And in boxing, all your decoys, all the traps you're setting have to be set up by other punches or other fake punches or other feints and whatnot, the small steps. So, it's not just about Conor's power, because let's face it, I've been in the ring with some of the heaviest punchers in the sport already. So that's not really something that's so much I'm looking at and looking for. I'm more looking for Conor's ability to use his trickery, Conor's ability to disguise punches, to disguise traps, to set traps. I'm looking more for that, because these are the things he's going to need more than anything against a guy as crafty as Mayweather. The heavy hands, whether they're heavy or not, it doesn't matter so much to me, and I don't think it's going to matter so much to Floyd if Conor doesn't have the ability to disguise and decoy some of the shots he wants to land, or some of the combinations he wants to throw. And sometimes you use disguises and decoys with our punches, or with a throwaway combination, or with a throwaway punch. Sometimes it's with a feint. Sometimes it's with a half step or a fake step. There's so many decoys you have. It's just a matter of which ones you want to use and using them at the right time. You may have the right move, but you may use it at the wrong time. And at the wrong time, it becomes the wrong move. You know what I'm saying? So all these things, those are more the things that I'm curious about and I want to be looking for when I'm in there with him. His reputation precedes him. I'm more looking for the things that other people aren't really thinking about, and hopefully I can help out in is the best way I can.
I love it, man. What do you make of this rumor that one of your fellow boxing fighters made, that he said Conor got knocked out in training? I think it's all bullshit, man. I call bullshit.
Well, it is bullshit, Brendan, and I'll tell you what, the timeline proves that it's bullshit. And I'm gonna, before I get into how it's bullshit, first of all, I think Jesse Vargas, who's been a high-level fighter himself, I think he's more so looking to get in Conor's head. And this, I think for this reason. There's some boxers in the sport that are saying if Conor doesn't leave boxing after this, if Conor decides to box again, they want to be the guy that he chooses, right?
Come on.
What better way to get in this guy's head or stick out on this guy's head than do something like this? For me, Jesse Vargas did all this so he can get the head start on any other possible opponents in fighting Conor, just in case Conor does decide to box again, because fighting Conor brings an extra bigger paycheck, a much larger paycheck than you're usually used to. Even if you are used to making pretty good money, Jesse Vargas is making decent money, but fighting Conor McGregor will make more money. You know, it's just the way it is. So I think he's more so looking to get a head start on any other fighters, just in case Conor does box again. I just don't think he approached it the right way. I don't think that's the right way you do it, because you're messing with these guys' livelihoods and money, because this fight is based on a lot of it is based on the sales it's gonna generate, and you're throwing a monkey wrench into possible sales by making up stories like this. And now I'm gonna get into why it's a made up story. Brendan, we were on the press tour last week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we were in LA on Tuesday, we were in Toronto on Wednesday, we were in New York on Thursday. Before that, I was in touch with Team McGregor. They were not in America. They were training in Ireland. So they had yet to reach Las Vegas to base themselves out of. Then the press tour started. So prior to Tuesday, they were training in Europe. Tuesday came, LA. Wednesday came, Toronto. Thursday came, New York. Friday we didn't go, but they were in London. Which means at the earliest, Team McGregor left for and landed in Las Vegas from London on Saturday. Okay? Saturday, that's about a 12, 13-hour flight, London to Las Vegas. Jesse Vargas' interview came out on Sunday. So when did this sparring session happen? Unless Conor McGregor somehow flew 14 hours on Saturday and sparred Saturday, which nobody could possibly do, the sparring session didn't happen, because Jesse is not in Ireland. Jesse lives in Las Vegas.
That's hilarious.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he just got to Vegas when they spar. You know, so just by the simple equation of mathematics, it couldn't possibly have happened. It couldn't possibly have happened.
Yeah, I mean, Conor's a rich fella, but I don't know if he has a time machine or to transport like that. I feel like a lot of it is just, there's a lot of big name boxers out there, and I actually think it's, such a great time in boxing, especially at 147 pounds. You have all these amazing fighters, but I feel like a lot of boxers are just trying to get their name out there somehow. And this is one way to be linked to this Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather fight by Jesse Vargas doing this, So I don't hate on him for it. It's just a bad look, because now whatever you say, whatever you follow up with, we're like, bullshit. Even if it's true now, people are like, this guy's looking for attention.
I just think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just feel like the right and the wrong way to do it. Once this fight was signed, you're looking to generate hype on this fight. You're looking to generate buys around this fight. You're looking to just generate the momentum behind this fight. I admit, even I said some things about Conor when he first got his boxing license. I was doing the same thing. He hadn't signed the fight. I was looking to get the fight myself. You know what I'm saying? So, but once this fight was signed, you're not only hating on Conor, you're hating on Floyd. You know what I'm saying? Because you're killing buys for them both. And Jesse was brought up by Floyd Mayweather. I don't know if people in the MMA world know this. Jesse Vargas was brought up by Floyd Mayweather in boxing. Like, he was signed to Mayweather Promotions. He was the entire early part of his career. Jesse Vargas was with Mayweather, signed to Floyd Mayweather. Then he ended up leaving for Top Rank Promotions. So it's not like he doesn't have it's not like he doesn't have a link to Floyd Mayweather, but so you're also killing buys for Floyd too. You're hurting the fight in of itself by doing something like this. So I just think there's a right and a wrong way to do it, and I understand where Jesse was coming from. I just don't think his approach was the correct approach.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's just trying to get attention. It's not, it's just a bad look, because now whatever he follows up with, no one's going to believe him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Rightfully so at this point.
Paulie, we're going to move on from Floyd and Conor because I'm sure you're like me. That's all you're talking about lately. You know, one of the things that impressed me most about you, Paulie, and I get it, and I don't think I'm nowhere near your success, but you know, a lot of fighters or athletes who transition over, you know, once they retire and then they get into whatever they're going to do next. It's such a scary transition, man. How did it work out for you? Because obviously you're world champ. You fought the who's who in boxing. Was it a clear sign to retire? Was it a tough decision? How'd that work out, man?
You know, you start to realize you aren't as hungry as you used to be. You start to realize you're not willing to go through as much pain as you used to be. You start to realize you become more and more injury prone. I was always injury prone. I had a lot of hand surgery early in my career, so I was more injury prone than a lot of athletes in general. But then as you get older, I started becoming even more injury prone. I think your body just breaks down more and more because I started catching little injuries in every single training camp. I think it was just a matter of knowing, like, you know, this is coming to the end here. You know, I can't. My level is starting to drop. I can't compete at the level I used to. I'm starting to have a tougher time with guys that I would have easily walked through before. I'm starting to slowly slow down, and then finally, you know, I took my last loss after all that, and I said, you know what, I think that was it. I think that's it. I mean, and every single training camp was just agony. You know, making weight was more difficult. Getting through some of the injuries was more difficult. It wasn't even fun anymore, you know. And I'm sure having a broadcast job helped me out as far as making that decision. But when it stops becoming fun, I mean, anything in life you do for a living. If you enjoy what you do for a living, you don't work a day in your life. That's a saying I've always heard. I really enjoyed being a professional fighter for a long time. For a long time, I enjoyed it. So all the hard work I did in training camp and all the hard work I used to do in preparation, even the suffering, making weight and whatnot when I was younger, I did it with a passion. I did it with love because I enjoyed it so much, you know, and I didn't mind doing it. It was hard, but it made the rewards that much better. You know, showing up on Fight Night in front of thousands of people in the crowd and hearing that decibel level rise during, you know, certain fights and certain exchanges, certain the ring introductions or your walkout entrance to the ring, all that, you know, it made it all worth it. But little by little, it started to become less worth it for me. It started to become less of a high for me. It started to become more of a drag for me to be in camp. I would sign a fight. Instead of being excited about the fight, I would be like, oh, man, now I got to leave for camp next week, and this is going to suck, you know? It just, my whole mental approach started to subtly change. And I realized, like, you know, you can't do this. You can't fight in a half-assed way. You can't do a lot of things in a half-assed way. But once you start fighting in a half-assed way where your mind isn't fully involved, your mind isn't fully committed to where you need it to be, I mean, even if physically you're present, if mentally you're not present, you're still not that good, you know? And if also physically you're breaking down as it is, you're also physically not, even if you're present, you're not really present as much as you used to be. So you know, all the combination of these things, you know, it led to my decision in the end. And, of course, the final defeat I took in March.
Did you have did you have your Showtime analyst gig lined up before you announced your retirement?
Yeah, I started working with Showtime in 2012, so I think that made the decision a little bit easier as well. It's funny because I never pictured myself to become an analyst. When I started boxing a little late. I started boxing at 16 years old. And I started boxing late, but I picked up real quick. I mean, I started winning amateur titles. I started winning national titles. So when I turned pro, I was ranked the #1 lightweight amateur in the United States. You know, I was on the U.S. national team. I was one of the elite amateurs in the country, you know. And so I felt like I had made such a fast progress in just a handful of years that I thought, man, I'm just going to keep getting better and better. And people literally started taking notice of me. And all I used to hear on the gyms and all I used to hear about it was, man, you got everything. You could fight. You're good looking. You can talk. I mean, wait till you win a world title. It's going to all come together. You know, it's going to all come. You are going to be a megastar. So in my mind, that was always my dream anyway. But now, like, I would hear things like this, and I'd start to think to myself in my own daydreams, my own mind, like, man, I'm going to be like Oscar De La Hoya. I'm going to be a star like Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, this is the way it's going to be. Also, people used to tell me, you know, you have the complexion for the connection, which is the biggest bullshit in sports, by the way. The complexion for the connection is actually the biggest bullshit in sports. You know, I'm still waiting for my prize in the mail every day for having to become a champion without white. I still don't see it. But, you know, so I heard all these things, and I believed all of them at the time, you know, and I thought, man, wait till I win a world title because I'm good enough to win one. I thought for sure I'm going to be good enough to win one. And now I'm pro. I started doing good. I had a good early part of my career, and the injuries started happening. The hand injuries started happening. And that was the first thing that slowed down my career. A lot of hand injuries. I had 4 right hand operations in total. One time my hand shattered. It was to the point where I didn't even know if I was fighting again, And I was really, really sad because I remember thinking, man, I don't know that anybody is ever going to know how good I was if my career ends right now. It was about 2004. I hadn't yet won a world title. I hadn't yet had a big fight. Nobody knew me. I was just a good prospect. But people, they were going to be doubters and they were going to be non-doubters, So at that point, if I would have ended my career then, nobody would have blinked, and I was really sad about it. Luckily, I was able to find a good surgeon, Dr. Stephen Marvel. He's from Massachusetts. He fixed my hand and healed me, and my career was able to continue. Now, I lost a lot of momentum. In the end, too, you get some business problems as well. You run into the business as well. The business is very complicated. Listen, to make a long story short, I won 2 world titles, but I didn't achieve the stardom that I had dreamed of for myself. I didn't become the Oscar De La Hoya. I didn't become the Sugar Ray Leonard of the sport, But in a weird way, things worked out in the opposite way because I also never thought to myself of working as an analyst ever. I never really crossed my mind. I just wanted to be the best fighter I could be. That was always my dream. And then people started mentioning me in the conversation about, hey, man, one day you'd be a good analyst. One day you'd be a good analyst. And people used to say that, but then the suits used to tell me, yeah, but there's not that really many jobs as an analyst in the sport. Like, there's only like 2 or 3 of them in the entire sport. Like, it's not that easy to just jump in there. And I remember in about 2008, I had a meeting with, late 2007, I had a meeting at Showtime because I was going to make my first world title defense of my first world title on Showtime. And I had a meeting at Showtime regarding getting the date with my promoter, Lou DiBella, at the time. And I remember I met with Ken Hirschman, and Lou DiBella was trying to pump me for to keep me in mind for a broadcast job. Like, Paulie can really be a good broadcaster. He can break down the action. And it was the first time I started hearing my name of people thinking I could be a broadcaster. It was late 2007, early 2008. And I remember in the meeting with Hirschman, he kind of brushed it off. He said, like, yeah, but, at the time that Tarver was very good, though, by the way. But he said, yeah, it's not that easy. Like, people think just because you can talk, you can do it. Like, you got to go to school, you got to take classes. Obviously, you're talking to me, like, who was, like, the worst kid in school ever. You know what I mean? Like, I got expelled. I had like, no schooling at all. So for him to tell me that, I was like, all right, this is, I guess this is not the route we're going to go. But it wasn't really on my mind at that time. At that time, I was a world champion. I was 27 years old, so I didn't really care, But he kind of brushed me off. Then in 2010, HBO gave me a tryout, like in the studio. They made me call a fight that they had already called, where they turned the volume off, and they made me call it with one of their play-by-play guys, with Bob Papa. And they said, okay, we're going to keep the video, and we're going to call you back. They never called me back as well. And then in 2012, I got the opportunity where Tarver had lost the job at Showtime, and Steven Espinosa was now running things at Showtime. Hirschman had moved on to HBO, and so he wasn't there anymore. And Espinosa had his people call me after Tarver had lost the job, and they were trying out new fighters every week as broadcasters. This is how I got the job. They disguised it as we don't have a fighter analyst right now. We're just having guests on every single week. That's how we're going to do it for a little while. In reality, what I didn't know was they were actually testing guys every week, and if they liked somebody, they were going to keep them. That's what I didn't know, Brendan. Mm-hmm. So they called me in September 2012. I was getting ready for a title defense of my second world title at that time. I was getting ready to fight Kano. I was getting ready to fight Pablo Cesar Kano. I was in Los Angeles. And the fight was Josecito Lopez against Canelo Alvarez. It was September 2012. And they said, we want you to be the guest for this week because we're doing guests every week. LA to Vegas is like 40 minutes, that, Brendan. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Sure, no problem. They offered me a little bit of money. Yeah, I'll do it. No problem. I'll be there for the weekend and I'll come back to camp. And it was my first broadcast that I worked. I had done like little guest spots on small broadcasts, like with friends and whatnot, and worked the entire broadcast. And it was a big card. I mean, it was like a four televised fights. It was a nice card. And literally went off the air, and the producers from the truck came over. Steven Espinosa came over, and they just literally hired me on the spot. They said, when are you going to retire? Come work for us. And that was it. It was just like weird. It was surreal. It was weird. It was like my life changed just like in a day. You know what I'm saying? I don't have school. I don't have a high school diploma. So people that think like I learned to speak this way because I went to school, or I learned to do this, or I had some kind of opportunity that was privileged or whatnot. No, I did not have anything at all. I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out of 10th grade. You know what I mean? I got expelled from school and I never went back. So my life changed from boxing, and my life continues to change from boxing. So when it was time to retire, Brendan, I had the opportunity to luckily already had the broadcast job. So thankfully, when my skills started deteriorating and my desires started deteriorating, thankfully I knew I had broadcasting.
Well, damn, man. I mean, to me, you're one of the best. I'm not just saying that because you're my boy now, but to me, you're one of the best, man. I think it's one of your callings. Obviously, you're a phenomenal boxer, but I think, you know, it's not easy to be an analyst and also bring, you know, color to it. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of guys who they can break down the X's and O's of boxing, and they can break down footwork, and maybe they've been in there, maybe they are a world champ, but it's not fun to listen to. I think what separates you from a lot of these guys is you have passion and you also have an opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Even when you and I were working together, and I think the number one thing that kind of made that Showtime broadcast with you, Brian, and I was the chemistry. Like, right away when we sat down, there was chemistry. Like, we were boys right away. It just worked. And for whatever reason, you're one of those guys where it shows that you're not a mean-spirited person. You actually get along with everyone. And so when you do your Showtime boxing fights, you can also see that amongst you and whoever's up there, man, which, you know, you can't learn that in a classroom. There's no TV course you can take to learn that. You're just born with that, Paulie. So again, you're one of the best to me, man.
But there's also one thing I realized right away too, you know, when I started doing this, is everybody has an ego, right? I mean, a lot of broadcasters have egos. A lot of people that work in television have egos. A lot of athletes have egos, obviously. I had been a fighter. I had been a world champion. As a matter of fact, when I got the job, at first it was during my second world title reign. So I never felt the ego as a broadcaster. And to this day, it's just fun for me. I literally feel like when I'm broadcasting, when I'm on TV, it's like I'm talking boxing at the bar with the fellas. You know what I'm saying? If I'm talking combat sports at the bar with the fellas, or at the house with the fellas, having a couple of drinks, watch. The only thing you can't do is curse. It's literally the same thing to me. You know, like where I'm just hanging out. There's no ego. There's no reason to have ego. I was a world champion inside the ring. Nothing can ever duplicate that emotion. Nothing. I don't care how good of a broadcaster I can be. Nothing is going to give me the ego trip of being a world champion, having my arm raised with a world title, being on somebody's shoulders while 15,000 people are screaming after I've been awarded the win. Nothing is going to duplicate that ever again. So I am not chasing that in broadcasting. What I try to do is I try to bring out the best possible speaking pattern to make the moment great for the fighters that are winning the fights now. You know what I mean? It's their moment. You know what I mean? So for me, I try to, when those moments happen, when you have a new champion, I try my best to bring that out to the people watching at home, and as best I can, to convey that emotion as best I can, because really all the credit has to go to the fighter. It's his moment right now. I'm not trying to take the moment. I don't care about that. I've never cared about that as a broadcaster. And I think that's what been one of the things that has helped me as a broadcaster. I didn't have to check my ego because I never had an ego when it came to broadcasting. This is literally just fun for me, man. I mean, I have a good time. They fly me out to fights, and they sit me ringside to talk about them, and they pay me like I couldn't have made this up. You know, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. You have speaking of flying you to fights, you actually don't have to fly too far because it's basically in your backyard. You got a huge one coming up. It's next week, isn't it? On Showtime?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got Adrian Broner against Mikey Garcia. That's a nice little fight right there. God
damn, that's a great fight. Maybe because I'm in the MMA world, but obviously I love boxing, so I'm excited for it. And obviously you're calling the fight, so you don't really predict the winner. How do you see that fight going down? I just feel like, because when the betting lines came out, your boy who you fought was 5-1 underdog.
It's crazy, Brendan, how far the odds makers have not taken to Adrian Broner. I mean, when Adrian Broner fought me, the odds were 11-1 for him to beat me, which I thought was laughable even going into camp.
Jesus
I was
Christ.
like, are these guys out of their minds? This guy jumped 2 weight classes to fight me. They're going to make an 11-1 favorite? Are these guys burnt out? You know? And they were burnt out. I mean, it was a split decision. That to the day I still thought I won. But regardless, that goes to show you where they had him. Then 6 months later, they had him as a 4-1 favorite against Marcos Maidana, where he got beat. But he was a 4-1 favorite against Marcos Maidana. That's a heavy favorite. You know, so the odds makers, I wanted to know what they were smoking at those times, because they were on some good. They were smoking that good shit.
They're smoking potential, Paulie. They're just banking on his potential come to fruition.
But now it's gone the opposite. I feel like they jumped off the bandwagon a little too much. Like the odds started at this fight at 5-1 for Garcia, and I have no problem with favoring Mikey Garcia in the fight. But 5-1, you made Adrian Broner a 5-1 underdog. After everything you did through the years with the odds that you've messed with him, now you've just gone the other way and just totally not giving him any credit. Like for me, that was a little bit disrespectful the other way. Now you know what I mean? Where Broner's actually a bigger guy. Broner has shown moments of brilliance in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Broner's fought a guy like this. Obviously, Mikey's better. Mikey's harder. But Broner's fought this kind of guy in Antonio DeMarco, and he absolutely dismantled Antonio DeMarco. Absolutely dismantled him. You know what I'm saying? A fundamentally sound, flat-footed Mexican-style fighter who's coming forward. That's Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is obviously probably a little bit better fundamentals. He's right-handed instead of southpaw. DeMarco was a southpaw, and he hits harder. I understand that. But he's also coming up in weight. DeMarco was a natural lightweight when Broner fought him. Garcia has been a big puncher at the weight class he's fought, but this is now a new weight class. This is the super lightweight division, somewhere where Adrian Broner has been comfortable at and campaigning at. He's an actually bigger guy. So you think of all these intangibles. The reason I make Mikey the favorite, in my opinion, is because he's the more consistent guy. He's more consistent outside the ring, his lifestyle, and he's more consistent inside the ring in his fundamental style. Broner's all over the place. His lifestyle outside the ring, you don't know whether he's going to wind up in jail or not any day or at any point. You get him in the gym, Adrian's the kind of guy I've seen him in the gym. Adrian's the kind of guy in the gym, he's working his ass off. It's when he leaves the gym, you need a babysitter for him. You know what I'm saying? Inside the gym, he'll never not give you the work you want. You tell him to give you this many rounds. You tell him to give you this many sets of whatever kind of exercise or whatnot. He'll do it all. He's not lazy at all. It's just once he leaves the gym, you need somebody spying on him. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of guy Adrian's been. So because of that inconsistency, you know, you start to have your question marks about Broner. It's affected his performances. That has not affected his performances. Albert Broner went to Colorado Springs for this fight. Albert, he went to camp in Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs has obviously the higher altitude. He went to camp. He went to that camp when he fought me as well. There's nowhere to go in Colorado Springs. It's a small town, so there's nowhere he can get distracted. So I got a feeling Adrian understands that this is a make or break fight for his career. Like if he loses this fight, the luster on his career kind of gets rubbed off a little bit. You know what I mean? Like people still will look at him as a good fighter unless he totally gets blown out. But the luster that was there before about that next Mayweather kind of thing, the next big star kind of thing.
Gone, yeah.
I think he loses that luster permanently if he loses this fight. And not that he can definitely achieve it if he wins the fight, but at least he can do something in the running if he wins the fight. If he loses the fight, though, I think he'll never get that kind of shine the way he's looked at in his career again. Doesn't mean he can't make money. Doesn't mean he can't continue to have fights. It just means the way they'll look at his career from now on will never be as that possible heir to the throne, the next star or whatnot. So I think there's a lot on the line. I think Adrian understands there's a lot on the line because of his approach he's taken to the fight. Having said that, again, I favor Mikey. Not 5-1. I think you're out of your mind if you think Mikey's a shoo-in to win the fight.
Agree.
But I do think Mikey is the favorite because he's a more consistent human being. He's a more consistent as a man, as a fighter, and he's more consistent inside the ring fundamentally.
For Mikey, it's not that it's an easy fight, but it's a tough fight because you don't know which Adrian Broner you're going to get. Is it Adrian Broner who has been playing grab ass even though he's in Colorado Springs? Is he still doing stuff, trying to find stuff to take his mind off the fight? Is he coming in focused? Is he coming unfocused? So to me, with Adrian Broner, I always watch his fights. I love watching him fight. He's so explosive and he's such a talent. But I just want to grab him and shake him. Like, get your shit together. What is wrong with you? Get your shit together, man. And you know, go ahead.
I really think Adrian understands this is that kind of fight for him. I really think it is. I mean, he has to understand. You know, the people around him. He's got to feel it. He's got to feel it in the air that this is the kind of fight that it needs to happen for him. He needs to put it together for him. He can't afford this to be a letdown. You know. But we're talking about the motivation Broner has. Don't let this slip away from you that Mikey Garcia has the same motivation because Mikey Garcia. This is the big fight Mikey Garcia has been craving. Mikey Garcia was on a roll. Then he got into the contract dispute with Top Rank, and he missed a few years from his career. And since he's missed a few years, he's come back, won a world title, gotten only knockout wins, but he's craving the big moment. He knows he's deserved the big moment. He's been a monster since he came out of the amateurs, but you know, he has not had the big moment because of these letdowns in the business of boxing. So this moment right here for him, this is his big moment as well. So let's not just think that it's Adrian Broner knowing that mentally he needs to put it together and he's mentally so focused and it's the moment he's waiting for to put it all together. Because Mikey Garcia is also waiting for this moment. This is a big fight he's been craving and wanting, and it's now here. So, again, a lot of arguments for both sides.
Yeah, obviously I'm not working the fight, so I can call it. I think Mikey Garcia, he's one of the best fighters in the world, but by a long shot. Multi-division champion. This will be another division he can be champion in. I think he realizes the magnitude of this fight. It is a breakout fight he's looking for. Mikey Garcia is one of my favorites to watch. I think he goes in there, and I think he puts on a clinic and gets Broner out of there. I really do. I think it's a sad story for Broner.
If he gets Broner out of there, it's really a feather in his hat because Broner's been in with some big punchers. Broner's been in with some rough dudes, and he's never been stopped.
And Mikey's going up in weight, so it's a big, it's a big statement by me. I just think Mikey's fundamentals, man, and his mindset, I think that gives Broner a lot of trouble, man. And like I said, I love watching Broner, but I don't know what's going on with him, man. He drives me freaking nuts, but he's a great fighter to watch.
And I think he'll always be that kind of person. But I think if Mikey does get him out of there, it's a huge statement. I mean, Mikey really, really cements his arrival or his re-arrival because he never went anywhere. But, he was, like I said, the business of boxing didn't treat him as good as it should have.
True, brother. Well, man, I know you're busy. I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. It's been a long time overdue. And I'm going to have you on as much as you'll come on, brother. I want you on all the time, man. You and I got to figure out something to do together. And obviously, we'll be working the week of the fight with Floyd and Conor. So I'm looking forward to that, man. But I'm going to be checking in with you time to time, man. Having you give us an update, what's going on with Conor's camp, stuff like that. And I can't thank you enough, Paulie.
Definitely, Brendan. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure, brother. And like I said, I'll be in Conor's camp the remainder of this week, and then I'll be back in New York next week to work for Garcia.
All right, brother. Talk soon, man. Appreciate you.
Talk soon, my man. Bye-bye.
The powerful Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
Man. Tricky last name. You'd think I'd get the hang of it. I won't mess it up again. I'm sorry, Paulie. Isn't he a great interview?
I love that guy.
Love him. Love him. Love him. Shout out to Paulie. Me and him are going to figure out something to do together. We keep talking about it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm sure Showtime has some ideas, especially Brian and Espinoza over there with me and Paulie. And then I have a few ideas. I don't know. There's something there, though. There's something there, and I will figure it out once I get some time to let my brain get some time to think about what Paulie and I could do in the future. But and we're gonna have him check in and call in when he's training with Conor. I just got off the phone with him after we wrapped, and I think it's gonna be such an interesting viewpoint. Him actually being in camp with Conor and a guy of his magnitude, being able to assess where Conor's at, stuff like that. I think it's gonna be cool, man. Yeah. And he's gonna be real too. And I told him, I said, you realize I'm gonna be checking in with you every night after you spar with this guy, just see where we're at. Because it's gonna help my analyst work as well. I got a direct source with Paulie, so. Shout out to Paulie. Love that guy. Should we move on to some current events? And the other thing is on Showtime next weekend, and I know you guys always ask me to tell you about some good boxing. You cannot get a better fight than Mikey Garcia and Adrian Broner. It is such a fun fight. It's on Showtime. If you guys don't have it, it's not pay-per-view. I think it's just Showtime. Paulie's going to be calling the fight along with the rest of the team, Brian and the rest of the guys. But it is an amazing fight. Mike Garcia's undefeated. He had this weird kind of red tape with his promoters, but he's undefeated, has gone up each weight class. This is his third weight class to become a 3-weight class world champion, and he is a straight savage, just a monster. His brother coaches him. His brother was a phenomenal boxer, phenomenal coach, and now he's fighting, Adrian Broner, who is one of the most frustrating fighters of all time, and I wish he'd get his shit together. And if he does have his shit together, you're in for an epic fight. And it looks like he's going to have his shit together. So tune into that on Showtime. It's next week. I'm sure I'll break down some of it next week, but that's a big fight. Let's jump into some world current events in this crazy mixed martial arts world.
Sounds good. First one is Conor. So he was more than a 10-1 underdog before, and according to Bovada, online betting site, he's less than a 4-1 odds. What do you call it? Less than 4-1 odds. Let me see it. Drops to
4-1 underdog.
4-1 underdog. There you go, underdog.
I placed my bet early because I knew this was going to happen. I think, just the more people, kind of tune into the fight and don't just listen to these haters who aren't giving Conor a chance. Is he a 4-1 underdog? I don't know. I wouldn't take that bet. It's still not great money. When he was, a plus 2,200, a plus 6,000, that was the time to bet. Now you can make your money on betting if Conor wins in the first 4 rounds. That's where you can make your big money. So, 4-1, I'm not making that bet. What I'm going to bet on is Conor winning those first 4 rounds, or Conor winning more than 1 round or something like that to make my money there. But this just goes to show you that, depend on the narrative that you're seeing right now in this fight and how it's coming about. It's not crazy to think that Conor not only can win rounds, but has an actual more than a puncher's chance to win the fight. And Vegas has shown these odds at 4-1. Because what Vegas does, they might come out with a huge favorite because they want the public to bet money on the underdog. So 4-1, which makes him, well, this is crazy, get ready for this, which makes him less of a dog than when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo, Maidana, Pacquiao. Like, you look at the odds, and he's more favorite to win than a lot of these world-class boxers, which is awesome, and which MMA media, especially the knowledgeable ones, has done their job. Huge round of applause for you guys, because you guys are the ones who are educating the masses and letting them know that this is not a circus. This is not some sideshow that shouldn't have the attention it's getting. These Vegas odds show you that we are doing our job, and we're doing a damn good job at that. What else you got, Jen?
Right on. All right, the next one is Anderson Silva. He posted to his Instagram. He played a clip of him and Nick Diaz fighting back in the day.
Hey, bro, this is a terrible fight.
And so he says that he wants to fight Nick now. Like, that he's not retired, and he actually wants to. He's calling Nick out in a very respectful way.
Typical Anderson Silva, but Nick's suspended for a very, very long time just because he's basically checked out. Everyone knows what you saw the new way the UFC testing works. You have to tell them where you're at all the time. And if you not give them your whereabouts, it is considered a failed test, and he's failed like 3 or 4 of them, so he's suspended for a very, very long time. I don't know if Anderson Silva in Brazil, if they're not getting the news, or if any of his team has updated him, but you might as well call out Bruce Lee. You have about the same chance of fighting Bruce Lee. Okay? So, for sure pick someone else. Yeah, but also don't say that you think this was one of the best fights in history of the sport. Though there's one of the best moments when Nick Diaz was so high he laid down in the octagon. I'll give you that. Other than that, terrible fight. I don't know too many people want to see this fight again. I like Nick Diaz. I always watch Nick Diaz fight. I like Spider Anderson Silva. However, I don't want to see this fight again. And it's also not happening for many, many of reasons. Yeah. So Anderson Silva, again, I don't know if he's getting the memo or what, but what can you do?
Right on. All right, so the next one is Chael Sonnen. He says he needs to fight Rory McDonald because it's like a gentleman's agreement to fight. He was in an elevator with Rory, and this is right when Rory signed with Bellator. And they're sitting in the elevator together, or like talking in the elevator together, and Rory was eating an apple.
Okay.
And then Chael asked him, like, so who do you want to fight in Bellator? And then he mentioned Paul Daly, and then someone else, I forgot who it was. And then he takes a bite of the apple and he goes, maybe you. So then after that, Chael's like, okay, we have to fight now.
Okay, well, since you said that, we have to fight now. I love Roy, man. I also love Chael. Chael's one of my close friends in the sport. I always support Chael. However, I don't know if this is the fight Chael wants. I like the fight. I hope Coker makes it happen, especially after Rory becomes champ, which I think he will. It's just a matter of time before he beats Lima. And for Chael, it's a big fight. It's at a money weight for Roy McDonald. Mm-hmm. I don't see it being that competitive a fight. Chael's one of the, how should I say it? He's a phenomenal fighter, especially back in the day. Now, he had his fight against Vanderlei where he got wobbled, even the short time they're on their feet. So I just think it's a bad fight for Chael, but it makes sense for Chael as well. I think Chael needs to fight a couple more. I'd like to see Chael versus Fedor. I'd like to see Chael, Bobby Lashley even at heavyweight. If he wants to do that. I don't know what he wants to do. But I know he called out Fedor because he's a smaller heavyweight. So I'd like to see him against maybe those kind of older guys. Because what's going to happen if he fights Roy? It's going to be, we're giving you your walking papers. That's a bad fight for Chael. Roy can avoid the takedown. Roy's going to be the quicker fighter. He has excellent boxing. That jab's going to eat up Chael's face. And I don't want to see Chael get hit to the head. He has a family. He's a brilliant analyst. He's a brilliant man. Has a great podcast. If you haven't listened to him yet, he's one of the best out there to do it. So tune into Chael. I think I forget the name of his podcast, but it's a good one.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. Well, you're welcome. His podcast. So I don't see Chael take too much damage, and he would take a lot of damage in this fight.
Cool. All right, this one's actually really funny. Yoel Romero has been posting on Instagram a bunch of different videos about calling Michael Bisping over to Cuba. And the most recent one, I think I'll just play it for you, then I'll just edit out the length of it. But just watch the whole thing.
You said the May day, you come in Cuba, but you never coming. So you want it? I go. London, Manchester, wherever you want. I want to see your face in the octagon. Soldier of God, the people child. You need respect for my country. That's Cuba, man. Hey, Dana, give me the fucking boy. You need respect for these people. You need respect, Cuba. You need respect, Cuba. You need respect, Cuba. This is my fucking country. I see you wherever when you want. In London, in England, wherever when you want, fight with me. You need respect. I see you, son. I see you.
This is the best part.
I see you. Where are you, man? Where are you? I wait for you here in Cuba. You say you coming here, but you never coming. You scared. You scared about me.
You scared.
Fuck you.
He ran out of shit to say. He was all, he's scared. And it was like, fuck you. I tell you what, man, this Conor McGregor effect is really getting to guys. Everyone's trying to do it. Did you see Sean Porter's?
No.
Do me a favor, bring up Sean Porter. He's a world champion boxer, and he just called out
Is on his Instagram?
Danny Garcia. I think so. It's so awkward. Just it's there he is. Showtime Porter. There it is. Okay. Watch this one. You want a more awkward one? Get ready for this. Get ready for this.
I've only just heard that the WBC would like Showtime Sean Porter to fight another title eliminator. And they want me to fight none other than a cherry picker himself, Danny Garcia.
This has to be fake.
When I say to
No,
you,
he's dead serious.
Let's get it on. Ooh, yeah.
I mean, he's obviously doing the WWE thing.
Oh, my God.
But literally, this Conor Floyd kind of whirlwind is bringing people to do some crazy shit. I don't know. I don't know who I'd give it to. Who did it better? When I mean better, who made a worse video? Showtime, Sean Porter, or Yoel Romero? Yoel Romero. I appreciate the try and stuff like that. You're not fighting. You just lost.
Oh, yeah.
You're like you need to call it someone where the fight's gonna actually happen, so we can get excited about it. Because you're calling out a guy where you just lost.
Yeah.
And he's the champ, so it makes no sense. There's no shot in hell Dana White's gonna make that fight. So you're barking up the wrong tree. Now, Danny Garcia, Showtime, Sean Porter makes sense. That's a fight that could possibly happen. So, granted, the video is terrible, but we're talking about it, so it worked in that aspect. But guys are doing this now, and it's for better or worse. That's where the sport of boxing, the sport of mixed martial arts is. Everyone's trying to jump on this kind of entertainment train to sell fights because you got to do something, or otherwise you're getting left behind. It's hilarious though, and I enjoy it. But Sean Porter, it's not in his character. If you ever met the guy, I've met him. I watched him sparring. It's out of his character, but it's funny because it's funny because you can tell he's playing a character, and it's from WWE. You know what I'm saying? Like he's actually doing the WWE
Savage
thing. Yes, woo, like all that. With Yoel Romero, it's like the editing was a little rough. Obviously, the English isn't great. He's calling out a guy he can't fight. Yeah. It's not edited well. And then he just runs out of things saying, goes, fuck you. All right, bro. All right, man. What else you got?
It is fun to watch, though.
Isn't it fun to watch? Yeah. It's like you're watching two trains just wreck.
So everyone's been talking about this eye poke that Gunnar Nelson said he received. And then I don't know. I think we talked about it a little bit before. After watching all these videos, you can see he got poked.
Did he? A couple,
man,
1,
like
2, 3,
twice.
4 eye pokes.
Yeah, at least twice.
Yeah,
so.
and I think Coach
Kavanaugh.
He
made a
even
video
put
of
it
it.
out. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
I didn't see it in the fight, so I think Brian brought up on Fire and the Kid because he saw this stuff, and I didn't see anything of it in the fight. I was like, God, Gunnar Nelson kind of just got murked.
Jacked,
he got dealt with. And then you see the replay, like, oh my God. They're not going to overturn this fight for many reasons, but one, Gunnar never complained. He fought through it, which is kind of on Gunnar Nelson. Like that first eye poke, he should have stopped. Like, damn, bro. And the ref would have warned him. Never happen again. They're going to take a point away and stop the fight. And because this is what happens. Because now, how can you overturn this?
Yeah,
How could you overturn it? Because Gunnar didn't even acknowledge the eye pokes. And that second one, go back to that.
The first or the second one?
So the first one is obviously crazy illegal. It's open hand. It's like he's like he was bowling. He just put both his fingers in his face.
Yeah.
But where he gets clipped,
Right there, this one, right?
what's wrong with that one? Strike with a finger out.
That's what Kavanaugh wrote.
Listen, everyone knows I love Coach Kavanaugh, but that's a stretch there. Maybe his eye, maybe seeing double, but that's a legal strike for sure. And that's where he gets in trouble.
These were kind of the one that I thought for sure was just not right.
Let me see.
Like
Go ahead and play it.
So he's coming with his right, and then he puts his finger out right into his eye.
Dog.
Right, here's another replay.
Ugh.
Finger right into the eye.
Jesus Christ,
So
man.
do you really think that that's a heat of the moment, or do you think he's probably doing that as a tactic?
I've never seen a guy do that.
Wouldn't you feel like your finger's going to
So
break?
now
if you do it?
fuck. Then Gunnar gets dropped after that. Yeah. So the first eye poke, crazy illegal. He should have been warned there. Again, this is the ref's job. Gunnar Nelson, it's tough for Gunnar to look at the ref and go, hey, do something about this. You're in the middle of a fight. There's high stakes. You don't know if the ref's going to stop it. You turn and look, you might get punched in the freaking face. A la Michael Bisping, Anderson Silva. Remember that when he spit his mouthpiece? Like, look, my mouthpiece, boom, knocked out, saved by the bell. So for Gunnar Nelson, him as a pure fighter, he's not going to stop and look for help out. Ref, do your job. Why the fuck you think you're there? What do you think you're there? You're there to look for illegal blows, eye pokes, and the safety of the fighters. What did you do there? You should not earn your paycheck. You should be docked pay. There has to be some sort of repercussion. Because now Gunnar Nelson, this was a huge fight for him. Now you lose. And it's not up to Gunnar Nelson to go, man, I'm getting poked now, you got to watch that. Because obviously there was no time. The first one, when he gets clipped with the right hand, I don't know if that's because he couldn't see out of that eye that was poked previously. That was a legit right hand that landed. Then he's in trouble. Then when he gets to the cage and the initial eye poke in the other eye, there's no time for him to react to that and look at the ref because he gets clipped and wobbled after that, and then the fight's over. This is on the ref. God damn it.
It's got to be tough.
Do
for the ref
your
too,
fucking
though, right?
job.
But can you see? I don't know how it is to be inside that cage, but me watching, I never saw any of the pokes. But I'm guessing if you're the ref, you got to be super up close
When it's
to see
your
that.
job?
I know,
That's
that
like
is your
asking
job.
a referee in the NFL if the wide receiver one
that's
foot's
true.
out of bounds.
Yeah,
Hey, man, do your job.
yeah.
And see, but this is the other problem with it. It's not going to happen. They're never going to overturn this. I don't know how Scotland works, but the commissions, they never overturn shit.
never.
But how easy would it be to look at this Monday morning and go, oh my God, those eye pokes, yeah, no contest. Why not do that? Why do you reward this guy, Santos, with those eye pokes? Granted, he landed that right hand. Let's say those don't land. Does he beat Gunnar? Probably not. I think Gunnar's a better fighter 99% of the time. Those eye pokes obviously change the dynamics of this fight. But again, there's no repercussions for these refs. He should not have got paid that night. You did not do your job. You did not protect the fighters. What's the fucking reason you're in there? To protect the fighters. You did not do your job. Why are you getting a paycheck? Gunnar got half of his pay. Did you get half of your pay? Nope. Are you going to overturn it? Probably not. Gunnar suffers a loss. It's a big loss for him. He's ranked number 8, loses to whatever the Santos is, 13 or 14. It sucks, man.
That is
And I
probably the
apologize. I
worst
didn't
thing
see
ever.
those when they got brought up yesterday. I did not see those. I did not
I
see
didn't
those.
see him.
I tweeted out today, holy Nikes, a couple 1, 2, 3 eye pokes. So shout out to Gunnar Nelson, the whole team. That's a bummer, man.
How can they change that though? So is it the commissioner or can the UFC tell them, hey, listen, if a referee doesn't call these kind of calls, that they need to be punished somehow? Like, who
UFC
makes
has
those
no
decisions?
control over it. It's the commission.
So they just have to change.
Sanctions. It's like it's like the good old boy clubs. Remember the commission was like, oh, we're Vanderlei Silva suspended for life. What?
Yeah.
Conor McGregor, you're suspended 2 years and you owe us $500,000 and you have to do a commercial. Conor's like, what? I'm not doing shit. Oh yeah, you're right. It's bullshit. Whole commission. What else you got?
All right, moving on to Daniel Cormier. John Jones was tweeting at Daniel Cormier a bunch of different stuff. And there's just too much stuff to go in it. But he's saying a bunch of stuff about how many times he was able to take down Daniel Cormier and how many times Gus was able to do it and Rumble was able to do it, all that stuff. And then DC just put a bunch of his tweets together into his own collage on Instagram.
Look at DC. Let me read this. DC goes, they say I'm obsessed. Dance for me, boy. Keep commentating on all my shit. Watch me work. Show those insecurities. In your moment of judgment, you pay close attention to the one that's handing out the punishment. You got 2 weeks. Play my game. P.S. This is the best. P.S. This is the greatest tweet ever by, or it's a Facebook post.
This is
Instagram.
Yeah.
This is the greatest post he's ever done, DC. Shout out to DC. You got 2 weeks. Play my game. P.S. You have a limp dick and horrible leg genetics. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. And so John Jones tweeted to him, tell your cameraman he did a great job hiding that belly. John Jones. So now the reason why you couldn't take me down the first time and end up taking you down like 4 times is because you weren't working out with this.
Yeah, don't get that.
Reading all the comments, you would swear this was my page. Don't worry, people. Daniel's laying on people on dry humping days will soon be over. Next time someone's taking pictures, put your shirt on. Your boy making you look like Pipsqueak. Just make sure you don't get yourself... God damn it. John Jones is not winning any spelling bees. Just make sure you don't get yourself, he meant choked out, but chalked out in the process of showing off these rejuvenated takedowns of yours. So now the reason why you couldn't take me down the first time, end up taking you down like 4 times because you weren't working out with this. Oh, wow.
With this do.
Wow. Hey, John, let's kind of stay off social media, huh? I love this quote. I love this by DC. P.S. You have a limp dick and horrible leg genetics. he should have just put, how about John? Stay off my nuts. Get off my freaking social media. P.S. You have a limp dick and horrible leg genetics. His legs are tiny. It's fucking hilarious. 1 point for DC. It's so weird to me, man. You know, maybe I'm off, but this is what I get, talking to people in person and going on this media tour, and I'm around a lot of the UFC fans and Conor fans, but everyone's kind of rooting for John. It's so strange. I cannot get it why DC isn't a fan favorite. Obviously DC has a lot of fans, but why isn't he as big as a John Jones, or why isn't he as big as name any other world champion? I cannot figure out. He does everything right. He's a winner. He's a world champion at heavyweight. He's beat some of the greatest fighters of all time. He had his 1 loss to John Jones.
That's why, though. That's the only reason.
It's so weird because what, you think he's a paper champion? He's beat Gustafsson. He's beat Rumble Johnson twice.
Yeah.
Rumble's a nightmare. I can't understand it. I can't for the life of me not understand it. Why? Because John made some horrible mistakes and DC was there to capitalize on it and then ran with the opportunity and beat some amazing guys. But it's so weird. If you take the polls of people like, oh, John's going to fuck him up. Yeah, John Jones like, but why? Why not root for DC? And I find myself like, man, what John's going to come out? Does John pull this off? I hope John pulls it. I have no idea why we're like that. I don't know. DC he's a good family man. He's a phenomenal dad. He's a captain of the team. He has his shit together. He's a great analyst. I don't know. People don't dig that.
I know.
You find yourself rooting for the Joker in The Dark Knight, don't you?
But then also
you find yourself rooting for Pablo Escobar and Narcos, don't you?
Of course, especially when you're watching those shows.
Yep.
But I think especially because DC's he wants people to like him.
We can feel that.
Yeah, and then people just don't like it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
people just don't like
it's
that.
weird, right? What else you got? Shout out to DC.
Yeah.
Great line. P.S. You have limp dick and horrible leg genetics. You win the battle, my friend.
All right, this is crazy. So the Chechen president has his own fighting league, and I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of his fighting league. It's all dudes, all guys, no ring girls, nothing, just all guys. And then there was this like HBO Real Sports trailer that they did, and apparently he wants to have his guys, his fighters, take on the UFC fighters in a fight to the death. To the death.
Come again?
Yeah, to the death.
Hold up. He's been watching way too much Game of Thrones. Way too much.
And he's a president.
Hey, bro. You president of a country. No, we're not going to fight to the death. This is not the medieval times. Also, no one wants to see that. I don't know what kind of creepy shit you're in Chechnya or whatever the fuck it is. We don't dig that here in the States. I have no idea what's going on here. No one's even acknowledged this either. Your fighters against mine in a battle of the death. Hey, man. Hey, bro, we're trying to grow the sport. That's not helping anybody. Matter of fact, that hurts us. Why New York Post even picked this up, I have no idea.
It's on other MMA
Shout out
sites
to New
too.
York Post for my interviews and stuff like that. But don't post this crazy shit. That's scary stuff, man. Nah, Battle of the Death. Excuse me, sir. You're watching way too much fucking Braveheart. What? It's no longer a sport. Battle of the Death. God, that's some scary shit. Chechnya does not fuck around.
No, he's a scary dude. So we should probably move on from that immediately.
Shout out to Chechnya.
Exactly. Okay, so there was a report from BJPenn.com that said that Stipe and Kane are supposed to fight, or they're targeted to fight at UFC 216.
Greatest heavyweight fight in UFC history
Right?
in a long, long time. Last time I can remember I'd be this excited for a heavyweight matchup would be Shane Carwin, Brock Lesnar.
Well, you did say you wanted to watch this fight a ton.
It's the number one fight to make.
But
If before you move on,
Yeah.
if Stipe were to beat Cain Velasquez, he's the number one UFC heavyweight champion of all time. Look at his resume and go. Argue that. Go ahead.
no, I mean, if Kane was not injured, but then again, he did lose. Verdum. Did he lose to Verdum?
He lost to Verdum in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah,
lost to
and he lost to
JDS.
JDS. So
But Stipe beat JDS twice.
Yeah.
Murked him twice. Well, I'm sorry. The first fight they gave to JDS, but I thought
he won.
he won. And then he avenged that by knocking him out cold, like beating his ass. And then he obviously murked Verdum in Brazil. Murked over him. Orlovsky. Like, you name him, he's putting him down. So if he were to beat Cain Velasquez, you got a real case for the best heavyweight champion of all time. The problem with Stipe, he's just, and again, not my problem. I love Stipe. And Stipe, you know this. I know you listen to the show. I love you, buddy. But his thing is he's just not a character that is going to be, on the front cover of GQ. He's not a character who's going to be out there tweeting, talking mess. Although he did talk stuff to Anthony Joshua, but that kind of went wayside because it's never happening. It's a terrible idea. But for Stipe, he's just not that dynamic personality. He's blue collar. He's a freaking fireman. He's that guy. But he's that guy everyone can relate to. He's the people's champ. He's the blue collar hard worker. For whatever reason, that's not the world we live in. This Kim Kardashian world, and it sucks for guys like Stipe. What were you gonna say though?
Anyways, Ariel tweeted not too long ago that someone asked if it was true or not, and Ariel, who I trust a lot, because he waits for a few sources to find out whether something's going to happen or not. He says, not at the moment. The fight has been discussed, but Velasquez isn't healthy yet. So end of the year, but maybe end year, maybe, but nothing close to done.
Yeah, if I have to give a prediction here, I would say that is on your big New Year's card. No, not sooner before that. And Stipe should definitely wait. There's no one he should fight right now that'd make any sense. He should get some rest, should heal up, and wait for Kane to get healthy and fight in that mega fight at the New Year's card. That's what's going to happen. What else you got?
Right on. Well, this is not that big of a deal, but Leonard Ellaby, the manager,
He's the bald head guy with the glasses
Yeah.
in the suit all the time with Floyd.
yep, he said that the training videos that everyone saw where Conor wasn't doing that well in sparring, he said, of course, that's Conor trolling. That's not a real video.
Agree. Yeah, everyone's putting all this weight on these videos. So just to let you guys know, so I can, most of my listeners understand this, but for the rest of the morons that don't get it. So when Conor blasted out that video of him hitting that power punch bag, and people were like, God, he looks so slow compared to Floyd posting him in a double end bag. Well, they're two different bags. So one, you're not supposed to look quick and power, and I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be a speed drill. It's more of a power punching bag. Mm-hmm. It's like an uppercut bag. And the other one is all speed and hand-eye coordination. So you can't compare those at all. It'd be like watching a guy run a marathon and go, God, he looks slow, compared to a guy running a 100-yard sprint going, shit, he looks fast. Where the guy running the marathon isn't supposed to look fast. So you can't base those videos off anything. The sparring video we've been over till I'm blue in the face. That's not real. That's all bullshit.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Let's check over here. Okay, so DJ, as you know, he was saying a lot of stuff about Dana White, how he was going to close the division, all that stuff. He says now that it was just a big misunderstanding and that they're planning to sit down and talk about what actually happened.
I think that's the best way to go. I don't think Dana's so, unfair where he won't sit down with one of the best champions of all time. And, especially DJ winning, ESPN Fighter of the Year, he has some momentum behind him. You want that guy to fight. Granted, the fight that he wants doesn't make it's not knocking one's socks off, but it is what it is for him to beat the record of Anderson Silva for most titles defended. So it's Ray Borg, right? So they'll figure it out. Again, it's not a fight that's gonna shake the windows loose or anything like that, but it's a fight that gets him the record. And then after that, maybe he'll take some super fights. I don't know what else he would stay around for. Doesn't make a lot of sense. What else you got?
All right, so you did talk to Malignaggi about this. Oh, no, not this one. This one. All right, so that rumor that Conor was knocked out in sparring training, people asked Floyd Mayweather whether he thought that was true or not, and then his response was, if I ain't seen no footage, I don't believe it. Everything is rumors until I see it. I have to actually visually see it with my own eyes. That's how he responded to the rumors of the video.
Yeah, Floyd's been he's grew up in gyms, man. He's been around the game too long. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, God, this is bullshit. Because TMZ would pay for some of that footage, something like that. So it's just not real. The guy's trying to get famous off this big fight. So again, Floyd's been around too long to jump to any conclusions, and anyone who's been around the fight game smelled this from a mile away. It's all bullshit. What else you got?
All right, let's do this. Mousasi will be fighting Alexander Shlemenko in Bellator 185.
Yeah, and then you got King Mo versus McGarry announced as well at 185 in October. That's a great card, man. For Mousasi, I'm surprised he didn't get a title shot right away. I'm assuming maybe Limo wasn't ready, but that's at 85. What am I thinking? Yeah, Shlemenko, he was that monster. He got busted. He had some PD issues, and he was out for a while, but Shlemenko's a monster, that Russian monster. Pretty sure he's Russian. I like that fight. I think Mousasi kind of walks through him like a knife through warm butter, actually. Mousasi, he's a guy who could have been fighting easily for the world title in the UFC and just never came about for whatever reasons. But with Mo Lawal, that's a fun fight. That's a great fight.
All right, you want to go into the UFC Fight Night a little?
Yes. So Fight Night Saturday, it's a great card, man. It's a really good card. It's kind of flying under the radar, which a lot of these do lately, but it's a really fun card. Just looking at it, you got what I like is, and obviously because I'm a former heavyweight, but I like looking at the heavyweights. You got Johnson, who's on the Fight Pass prelims. I'll typically miss those, but then you got Sherman, that Chase Sherman, who's fun to watch. I think he was just on the MMA Hour. He's kind of personality. He actually came to Reign to spar. He's a tough customer. He's fighting a guy, the Polish Pitbull, 20-4, Chase Sherman. That's a fun fight. But let's just go right to the main card. So the fight of the night's tough to call on this one because it's either Jimmy Rivera versus Thomas Almeida or Bermudez versus Elkins. It's one of those two. The other ones are going to be finishes. So you have 4 fights on the main card on Fox. Jimmy Rivera versus Thomas Almeida. If you remember Almeida, his only loss is to Cody Garbrandt. And that was kind of Cody Garbrandt's coming out party. We know Cody was really good. We know how good he is. He's fighting this undefeated fighter and gets knocked out in the first round. That's how good Cody is. So we found out very fast. But before that, you're talking about a straight monster. Straight monster. Undefeated in the UFC. Only lost to Cody Garbrandt. And he has all these, how many, he has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 performances of the night. One fight of the night. He's one of the, he's amazing to watch. But he's going against a guy in Jimmy Rivera who I think could very well be your next champ. And he's coming off a huge win over Uriah Faber where he looked great. Wasn't really in any trouble in that. I want to see Jimmy Rivera versus Lineker, but it's a tough fight to call. But again, either this or Bermudez Elkin is your fight of the night. Look at this. Number 5, his record's 20-1 versus Thomas Almeida. His record's 21-1, which is nuts to see in mixed martial arts. I just think Jimmy Rivera is your next champ. I do, man. I think he's going to be a freaking tough customer. I think he matches up well with a lot of guys. His height, I think, is a little bit of issue for this weight class. I like Jimmy Rivera to get it done. I'll say TKO. Which is a huge statement because Thomas Almeida's only lost to Cody Garbrandt. But Jimmy Rivera is a straight monster. And then my boy's fighting the next fight. So obviously if you're bad on the fights, never listen to me on this. Pat's story with the UFC, it's a great story. He used to be a heavyweight, Penn State. He did some time in prison. And
did he really?
Yes.
Man.
But not like that.
Okay.
He's beat some of the best. He's lost some of the best. So he's had this up and down career. But, he's also, he doesn't have a lot of experience, man. But he's also one of the toughest customers in the game. So, he's coming off a win, a majority win. Oh, and then he lost to Little Nog. He lost to Glover. He beat Calavente. He lost to OSP. He got his first fight was in UFC 170 against DC, for God's sake, which he took on like an 8-day notice. That was his only way to get in the UFC, and that was a rough fight. The thing that always worries me about Pat, and I love you, Pat. The thing about Pat is always the striking, because Pat's such a tough guy. He will bite down his mouthpiece and play that game. In sparring and practice, he's always been that way. It didn't matter whether you're sparring me, a heavyweight, if he's sparring Mark Munoz, he's just that guy. He gets hit and he sees red and he just bites down the mouthpiece. Well, when you're doing that with a guy who he's fighting, who had that amazing fight against Shogun, he ended up losing. It's trouble, man. Because I would give the boxing advantage to
Gian
Villante, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd give it to him, which Villante, he is a wrestler, not to the same pedigree as my boy Pat. Listen, again, Pat's a friend of mine, longtime training partner. I'm not picking against Pat. I think Pat gets it done. I'll say via TKO in the second round, ground and pound. If Pat does get you down, you're in a lot of trouble. He's very heavy on top. He trains with Verdun for his jiu-jitsu, so he's used to being in trouble in submissions. So I will say Pat via ground and pound TKO. If you're listening to this and you're bad on the fights, I think Villante is an underdog. That's not a terrible bet. So again, my heart is with Pat. My brain that wants to make money might pick for John.
Got it.
Bermudez Elkin. Elkin coming off, I think he has 4 wins in a row. His last fight, he was in a lot of trouble and then ended up pulling it off. Bermudez, remember him? I think Bermudez won 7 in a row. How he didn't get a title shot within those 7 wins is crazy. Look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Had a win over Clay Guida, and it was he's right there. It's performance of the night, 2 performance nights in a row. He's right there, and then Ricardo Lamas comes along. Choked him out. So and then he's a comeback fight, Jeremy Stevens, TKO. And then he wins 2 in a row. And then he loses one to your boy Chen Sung Jung.
Yeah.
And that was his last fight. Bermudez is one of the best in the world. He just, for whatever reason, when he fought the upper echelon, he's been in a little bit of trouble. But I think he gets it done against Elkin. He has too many weapons. He has too many ways to get it done. I haven't looked at any of these lines, but I think Bermudez gets it done, and I will say gets it done. I bet this goes to decision. I bet this one goes to decision, but it's a really good fight. But I think Bermudez goes to decision. Oof.
Bam.
This main event, man. This goddamn main event. I like it because Chris Weidman's always wanted to fight here. It's in his hometown, right? It's in Long Island. He drives by that arena, while he's getting into fighting. He's always wanted to fight there. He's always wanted to be a headline there. I just don't like how soon it is after his last fight. Because remember, so he loses Mousasi in that weird controversial win. He's winning the first round, then he takes some serious blows. Before that, he's fighting Yoel Romero. Obviously, he's doing well in the first round. Then he takes some serious blows. He takes a flying knee, a Cuban missile knee from Yoel Romero to the face. And then before that, it's a Luke Rockhold fight. But there's a common theme with all these fights. Luke Rockhold, I had Chris Weidman doing very well. I had him up at least he's winning 2 rounds there, I think. He's doing well. Yoel Romero, that first round, he's doing great. Laying some takedowns, even though Yoel's popping up. He's laying takedowns and Yoel's starting to get tired. Then he lands the knee. Gegard Mousasi, again, doing well. And then obviously, he starts to kind of, I guess you could say, wither away. And then he gets TKO via the knees, and he thought it was illegal. But it's a bummer, man. And then with Kelvin, his last loss, which is so stupid, he gets flagged for weed, so it's a no contest. But since he's came to the middleweight division, it's hard to argue he's not one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
He looked great against Tim Kennedy. I don't know if that's a matter of Tim Kennedy being 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think it's Vitor Belfort. It's a non-PD Vitor, and he just gets murked. But, you can't hate on Kelvin for who they give him, and he's murking all these guys and looking great at doing it. But he hasn't really passed a 185 test. In the best 8 guy he's beat at 85. I'll wait. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to say Kennedy, but
it's Kennedy who's also shooting a show chasing Nazis
and
on
retired
History
after.
Channel, and retires right after. And he's also active duty for the military special forces. He's the toughest guy he's beat. I think Tim Kennedy's the toughest guy to ever grace the octagon for obviously many of reasons. But, Tim Kennedy 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He had other obligations going on. And then you fight, in Performance of the Night, Vitor Belfort in Brazil. But again, it's a Vitor dad bod Vitor. So again, that's not knocking my hair off. I'm not hating on these guys. People always say, oh, you hate on Francis and you take a picture of him. I don't hate on Francis. I don't buy into the hype until there's a reason for me to buy into it. There's a big difference. Either you're a fanboy or you're a hater. No, there's a huge middle ground where I'm a fan of Kelvin, I'm a fan of Francis, but I'm not ready to give them the belly. I'm not ready to crown him the next king. So I think there's a lot of potential in Kelvin. He's passed every test, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be champ. But if he goes in there and does work against Chris Weidman in front of a home crowd, all right, there you go. All right, there you go. Then let's see what's next. But there's other tough tasks for him after Chris Weidman. For Chris Weidman's hope, I hope he comes together. I just don't like the timing of the fight. I wish he had more time to rest. It's tough for me to pick against Chris Weidman in Long Island in front of his home crowd. If Chris loses one, what do you do? Four losses in a row?
Yeah, man. He's got to probably bounce.
I think Chris can use his wrestling there to his advantage. It's a 5-round fight. I think, as far as cardio is on Kelvin's side. Again, I always tell you guys, don't bet on a lot of my picks, especially when I know a guy. My heart's with Weidman, and I want to see him get done. I think no matter what happens to Kelvin, he's young. He's eventually going to be champ in either 70 or 85. So I'm rooting for Chris. I don't know if he gets done against Kelvin. I also don't think Weidman takes this fight unless it's in his hometown. So that bothers me. I think Chris would have passed on this fight, especially with all the momentum Kelvin has going for him. It's a bad idea for Chris. Kelvin matches up. He's a better striker. He has better cardio. He's on this huge momentum right now. And then you got Chris Weidman, who, goddamn, he needs a win. If this fight isn't in Long Island, Chris, I would imagine his team passes on this fight, which is scary. So my heart is rooting for Chris, man. It really is. Would I put money on him? I sure would not. But I hope Chris gets it done.
Damn, I got Chris. I don't know why. I just have a feeling like this is it for him, so he has to do it. But I hear you with the money thing.
Kelvin's a tough customer, man.
Yeah.
So is there you disagree on any of these picks, Chin, or are you kind of on the same board here?
You had Rivera. I totally take Rivera. I take Cummins, actually.
You like Cummins?
Yeah, I actually like Cummins on this one.
I like it.
Yeah. And Bermudez, I still take Bermudez. You took Bermudez as well, right?
I think Bermudez eats him up, matter of fact.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think he eats him alive.
Yeah, and I take Weidman. But I'm going off of feelings, that's what I do.
Yeah, I usually go off my heart, not my mind. So I will take Jimmy Rivera in Fight of the Night against Almeida. I will take Pat Cummins. But again, I always give you guys an underdog to bet on. I think Weidman's an underdog. So Weidman or John Villante, if you want to make money betting, those are your picks there. You have the odds for me,
Yeah.
Chin? Chris Weidman plus 135. So you're not making a ton of money off of him. Pat Cummins, slight favorite. Love that. And that's all the odds they give you.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man. Yeah, it is what it is, man. So, again, I got Chris, I got Bermudez, I got Pat Cummins, and then I have Jimmy Rivera. All right? It is a great card. It is this Saturday. It is on Fox. The prelims are on Fox Sports, I think. And then early
Fight Pass.
prelims are on
early
Fight
prelims,
Pass.
I know.
Yes. And that starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. Right? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Pacific. 3 p.m. Pacific. The main card starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. And it kicks off with my fight of the night of Jimmy Rivera, Thomas Almeida. But if Pat Cummins or Villante don't get knocked out, that has potential fight of the night too. But again, when you're light heavyweight and you fight like those guys do, usually that's going to end in a finish. But if for whatever reason those two don't turn one of each other's lights off, that is the easier fight of the night. But someone's turning each other's lights off. But again, for whatever reason, if it doesn't, you're going to have one of the best fights of the year. But I don't see that happening, but there's potential there. Cool. So Jimmy Rivera, Pat Cummins, Bermudez, and Heavy Heart with Weidman. Boom! Tune into it this Saturday on Fox. Get you some fights. And the following week, you got great fights on Showtime with Mikey Garcia and Adrian Broner. It's a good time to be a fight fan, and it's a good time to be a Big Brown fan because I am coming this week live, Arizona, Phoenix, stand up live, few tickets left. And then Friday, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. Again, few tickets left at both those. And that is this week, kicking off the worldwide tour. And then next week, I am in Toronto on the 27th. That show is all sold out. And then from Toronto, I head on to Chicago. There are tickets still left in Chicago. If you're listening right now, get on that. And then Detroit, I think, has less than 10 tickets left. Detroit on July 30th. Also, Chicago, don't worry. We will watch the pay-per-view. I'm not going to be doing a show during the pay-per-view. I'm not that crazy, especially John Jones, DC. And then London, August 2nd, August 3rd. Both those shows are sold out. Manchester, August 4th. That show is sold out. Dublin, August 5th through the 7th. All those shows are sold out except the matinee show on August 7th. We just released 100 extra tickets. We cannot back that place anymore. I keep saying this. They told me this is the final straw. August 7th, Dublin, Ireland, Big Brown Live, Breakdown, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. I'm telling jokes, breaking fights down. It will be a time that we will all remember. August 7th, matinee show are the only tickets left on that Europe tour. Get them right now, tfatk.com. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Paulie Malignaggi. God, dog. I'll get it, Paulie. I love you, man. As usual, bigger, browner, badder. I'm your host, Brendan Schaub. Till next time.